she was so afraid to start her podcast, which is crazy because her podcast has meant so much for me and it's impacted so many women. And it's crazy that like she was talking about a few years ago, it took her months to even get up the courage to release her first episode. And I think there's always going to be like really weird, things that you don't like about yourself, or like a lot of podcasters maybe feel really awkward about like hearing their voice.
Yeah.
But I think it's just really overcoming those fears and kind of knowing that there's a possibility that you could have a pretty big impact on someone. And so I think even in like my 4 months of podcasting, I think just like, there's been a few times where people reach out to me and say, I really resonated with this episode, or this meant so much to me because I also went through this, is like, that's what makes it worth it. And I think that's kind of, unfortunately, it's just that first hurdle of getting over, just trying to kind of fight that fear. And I think it's really important to note too that that hurdle is really yourself, and you're kind of battling yourself, and there's no one else telling you that you can't do it. It's just your own brain that's saying and telling you lies that you can't do it.
I definitely agree. And I'm kind of similar to the girl you were interviewing yesterday because I like always have loved public speaking, like fashion. Like a podcast is something that I've like always been interested in. I just like love it. But it did take courage for me to kind of create it. Like, I'm not gonna lie, like a little nerve-wracking because it's something new, and sometimes new things can strike fear within. And kind of, I had some self-doubt regarding it because I'm like, there's bigger podcasters than me. Like, I'm never gonna, you know what I mean? Just like those thoughts like that kind of just run through your mind. But after having the courage to like create one, and I just like started to like last month. So this is very new to me as well. But like just like kind of, I just love it. Like, I love being able to put content out there and kind of like hearing people's feedback. I think it's great. And like sometimes in life, you have to do things that like others aren't willing to do because they can end up being something that really impacts your life. And I truly like love this podcast, and I'm so grateful for the opportunities that I've been given. So definitely just going for things that you may not even think would even like work out.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think a lot of that can also be that fear that you have of what others are going to think of you. And I think like I was talking about it with this girl yesterday, and like she even like, I mean, she seems to get like so many positive reviews, and it seems like, I would think that her podcast is like nothing but positive, but she's talked about, one time I got this negative review and I just cried in bed. And I think that that can be really hard. And I think that there's definitely like a stigma around like people trying, like, it almost feels similar to people who have like YouTube channels, is how I can like kind of relate the feeling. Not that I've ever had one, but I think it's just like the people that go and like make those YouTube channels and really put themselves out there. Like, we just put our voices out there. And I think that that's a lot, but like the people that you see like walking around, like vlogging and like doing that sort of a thing, I think that would be so much more of a bigger fear for me that I don't know if I could ever do that. But I think it's definitely hard because you're always thinking about, well, what are my friends going to think? What is my family going to think? Like, they're going to think this is so weird and then I'm so full of myself and blah, blah, blah. But I think it's just really getting over those fears and just, going after what makes you happy and what fuels your creativity.
Exactly. And I feel like there's been so much support on like podcasting. Like, there's like so much like great people who want to see you do well. So I feel like you cannot let those few people that are kind of negative or kind of steering you away from something that you know in your heart you want to do. It's kind of like you do what's best for you. And there's always going to be people who kind of have something negative to say about it. But I feel like that's just life. And those are things that you kind of just can't let affect you, because if you let someone kind of affect your thoughts or what you do, then you'll never have fulfillment within yourself. And I think that's really important, kind of just not listening, obviously listening to the people that you care about, but to an extent, because at the end of the day, it's your life. And I feel like you should do what you want to do.
Yeah, I agree.
Um, and life can be so crazy. So, what are some ways that you just stop and kind of just be grateful for all you have? I feel like it's very easy to just think about the future or the past, but sometimes it can be difficult to live in the present. So I feel like that's so important.
Yeah, I think I've definitely struggled with that a lot in the past, and I think it's something that I continue to work at. And I don't think it's like something that I'll ever be able to get over. I think we're so like in our thoughts all the time, especially in isolation. But
Yeah.
I think for me, it's just kind of, I mean, I really attest a lot of it to having like a Christian faith and just being able to like pray about it and put my faith in that. But I think at the same time, it's always just kind of looking at what things I'm really reflecting on from the past, or I can't get out of my head, or you can't get that person out of your head. I think it's just really being able to look at the truth of that situation and saying, while you may have really good memories with these specific people, and this can be friendships, relationships, what has their current actions been? Because I think that words, obviously actions speak louder than words. And I think just like for people that kind of have treated you badly in the past, if they've like ghosted you, if they've just been a bad friend to you, how have they really treated you this year? Because I feel like, it's been such a weird year, and I've just been reflecting on who are the people that have really been there for me this year. Those are the people that I want to keep close to me, and the people that really just took a back seat or didn't want to, try anymore with our friendship or give anymore just aren't worth it and aren't worth keeping in your mind and like overthinking and thinking about again and again. There are other things that you can be filling your mind with. And as for the future too, I know that like I always think about things in the future, and I think about, well, when is this going to happen? I really just want it to happen. But it's really just also like trusting that like where you are in life right now, like you're meant to be there for a reason, and like everything is happening according to, your life journey, and like everything will happen according to plan. So I think it's really trying to find kind of like, everything in the moment, and like what you can be grateful for. And sometimes it's just really simple things. It's like having a roof over your head, and it's being able to have a cooked meal every day. And there are just so many people, especially now in the pandemic, that like have lost jobs and maybe you're homeless now. And I think it's just, when you put it into perspective of like that, um, it really makes you reevaluate life and kind of, yeah, just helps you be grateful for so much more.
That was so heartfelt. Like, I totally can relate on so many levels. I feel like regarding the friendship thing, like, I've kind of felt that some of the people who were in my life throughout high school kind of weren't putting as much effort in anymore. And at first, it was very upsetting to me because, long time friendships, and you think that everyone's going to be always a true friend, but I guess that's just not the case. And you just have to realize that those people who choose not to be in your life anymore, it's for a reason, and there's bigger and better things for you. And like the people who want to be in your life, obviously, who are in my life personally, I'm really grateful for because they positively impact me. And personally, I don't want to be around, like, I don't really like, I feel like it's not about how many friends you have. I feel like it's the quality of the friendship because like you can have a good amount of friends and but they're not really there for you or they're not supportive, and I'd rather have like just those people who you can really trust with everything and feel safe with. And I feel like that is a true friendship rather than, just yearning for any type of friend who may not even be really a true friend, and it can be very hurtful. But I think when you realize who your real friends are and who's not your friend, then like you will never want the people who really just don't try to be in your life anymore because kind of like who you are as a person, your worth. And if somebody doesn't want to be in your life, I almost take that as, well, that's not something I can control, that's out of my control. So
Yeah.
that's kind of my take on it. And I feel like staying in the present is so so important, and being grateful for the little things that you really don't think about every day, but once you kind of just take a break and like just kind of like think about all you do have in life, like there is so much to be grateful for. And I feel like sometimes you take that for granted, but like it's so important to realize that the little things mean the most. And that's something that really helps me be present. Also, I feel like having a gratitude journal or just like little things where you write down to kind of reflect on all you're grateful for, because like there is so much to be grateful for.
Yeah. Yeah. I used to talk about it a lot, but I've been really bad about filling it in. But I do have like a sort of a gratitude journal that I need to get back on. But it really is so simple. It has you fill it in like morning and night, but it's like, in the morning, list 3 things that you're grateful for. Tell me how you're going to make today great. And, what is something that you want to keep telling yourself and kind of just like speaking over yourself. And then like the night is like, what are 3 great things that happened today? And, how will you make tomorrow great? And it's always just like, it helps you to look for those things in life, because I think even like on your bad days, you can find things to be grateful for. And sometimes like that is the fact that you're able to kind of, make those boundaries and those friendships, like you were saying. And I think that that's something that I've really been learning this year is just, you know, if those friends aren't right for you, maybe it's time to set some clear boundaries. And I never knew about boundaries before this year, but I think that they're so important. And I think it's really also so reflective when you see how that person reacts to you wanting to set boundaries. If someone reacts negatively to you wanting to set boundaries to personally better yourself and focus on yourself because it's better for your mental health, then that person wasn't meant for you or isn't right to be in your life anyways. And so you can let them out the door. And it's just such a clear indicator, because the right people are going to respect that, and they're going to say, okay, I will definitely take a step back, and whenever you need me, I'm here. If I can support you in any way, let me know, but I will definitely respect your boundaries. Hope you're okay, and that sort of thing.
Right, exactly. And I feel like the people who kind of don't accept that, it's almost like, are you my friend then if you're not accepting it? You know what I mean? So I feel like it's almost like you feel at loss first. It's definitely kind of an at loss feeling when you do lose a friend that you believed you were so close with. But then as time goes on, you definitely realize that you are like so much happier and you're living your best life and you're kind of just doing better things without this person. And it's almost like a feeling of relief that you're able to let this go, and it's kind of not weighing you down anymore, because sometimes friendships in the past for me have almost felt like toxic, where it was always like a comparison, or always feeling like you were in a competition with that person, and that's just so unhealthy. And kind of letting go of that has kind of made me personally grow as a person and really just do the things that I want to do. And I think that's so important for anyone, because it's so hard, to kind of like decipher who is your friend and who's not, because there can be signs that are very not clear and obvious. But when you do figure that out, it's almost like it's just like you need to do what's best for you. And if that's what's best for you, then whatever the other person's thinking cannot be what takes over your thoughts.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Um, and so, just one final thing. So, thank you so much. And finally, what are some ways that people can contact you, or just kind of look at your podcast and just stuff like that?
Yeah. So the easiest way is probably there's a link in the bio of my Instagram for the podcast. So that's just at Resiliency In Running. And that link will give you, I think there's 8 different platforms that you can listen to it on, but we're on Spotify, Apple, Amazon, Google, and a couple of other ones. That's probably the best way to get in contact. And if you want to reach out, I'm literally an open book. You can just shoot me a message on Instagram. If not, I think there's a link for an email if you're more formal. But yeah, that is probably the best way to get in touch. But thank you so much for having me on your podcast today.
Thank you so much. I loved hearing from you. You had so much good insight and advice, and I will definitely link your platform and just ways to contact you, because you're really awesome, and everyone should take a listen to your podcast because there's really some great info in there. So thank you so much. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode on the Fashion Fables podcast, and don't forget to stay tuned for the next episodes and for future updates. Thank you guys. Bye.